Hello, this is Ali welcoming you to the 2174th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline 17th of January 2019. The readers this week are Kitty, John and Ali, with Peter on the controls. The editor was Phillip, and the production and distribution team is Jean and Lindsay. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Brie, Fernand Bouillon, Harry Breuer, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perret, and is used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we will be reading come from the Enfield Independent and the January edition of Enfield Dispatch. The lead story this week is 2 Jailed for Murder. For the news, we have the sunrise and sunset times for the week beginning the 14th of January 2019. And these are sunrise at 7:54 and sunset at 16:30. Do get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We love to hear from you. If you have any comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 0208 805 6578. She is your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. Now, Kitty will read the first item of local news.
2 jailed for murder. 2 men have been jailed for the murder of a 23-year-old who was shot and stabbed 12 times. Ilkan Bilkana, 20, of Dartford Avenue, Ponders End, and Duke Quianu, 21, of Holbrook Close, 40 Hill, were found guilty of the murder of Russell Jordan Jones, who was killed in the early hours of March the 17th last year. On the evening of March the 16th, Russell and several friends were out for a meal at a restaurant in Green Lanes. Then, after they finished eating, one of his friends wanted to collect his van from outside some shops in South Street, Ponders End. The group drove to the van, and when they arrived, they began smoking and talking. At midnight, a group of men appeared, wearing dark clothing and masks, and approached Russell and his friends. The friends dispersed in different directions before a loud bang was heard. Russell was attacked in South Street, and a post-mortem revealed that he was stabbed 12 times and shot in the abdomen with a gun. He was pronounced dead at 1:14 a.m. after police and the London Ambulance Service arrived at the scene at 12:45 a.m. A friend of Russell sustained a single stab wound to his back, and he was taken to hospital but later discharged. Ilkana and Quinu were arrested on suspicion of murder and GBH on April the 26th, and the pair were charged with murder on April the 27th. They were found guilty at the Old Bailey of murder, GBH with intent, and possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life on December the 11th. On Friday, Bilkana was sentenced to 29 years detention, and Quianu was handed a 29-year prison sentence. The third man, Callum Martin, 25, of Enfield, was found not guilty on all charges, and the charged pair began kicking and punching him in the dock in court. In a moving statement, Russell's mother said, "Russell was my only son, the twin to my daughter, my parents' only grandson, and my sister's only nephew. He was my strength, my protector, the only man that would always love me unconditionally. I was utterly blessed having Russell as my son. He was an inspiration to his peers. I just can't imagine my life without him. He will live on in my heart and in all of our lives forever. But life for me will never be the same." Detective Inspector Simon Stancombe from the Met Homicide and Major Command said, "The wickedness and ferocity of the attack, which was captured on CCTV, has shocked even the most seasoned of homicide detectives."
Celebrating success of Sugar Smart campaign. Sugar Smart Enfield celebrated its first year tackling excess sugar consumption at Enfield Town FC's home match against Lewes FC at the Queen Elizabeth II Stadium. A range of health and well-being providers and Enfield's Mayor, Councillor Saray Caracas, joined the players and supporters to help people eat better, move more and stop smoking. Across Enfield, 56 organisations, including Enfield Town Football Club, are already working towards becoming Sugar Smart, and Enfield Council would welcome much more to join. The campaign has achieved a lot in its first year, including reducing sugar content in school meals by 25%, delivering Eat Better, Start Better training to child carers, and supporting many childcare settings to achieve the Healthy Early Years London Award. a scheme by the Mayor of London to help reduce health inequalities. Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Public Health, Councillor Yasmin Brett, said, "I am very proud of Enfield's achievements over the past year to promote healthier, lower sugar alternatives. Overconsumption of foods and drinks high in sugar is a major contributor to the health crisis, especially childhood obesity. We want more organisations to become sugar smart by helping people in the borough to reduce their sugar intake. It's vital that local businesses, organisations, schools and residents get involved. We know there is no one solution to obesity and poor diet, and only a multi-pronged approach involving everyone will lead to long-term change. I encourage you to join the Sugar Smart movement now."
A man has been jailed after firing shots at an innocent mechanic following a dispute over payments. Darius Lipinski, 26, of Kingsway Ponders End, was sentenced to 14 years imprisonment following a hearing at Harrow Crown Court on Friday. He was previously found guilty of possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life following a 2-week trial at the same court. The court heard how at 3:15 p.m. on June the 13th last year, a 28-year-old victim was working at a garage on Hertford Road, Enfield, when 2 men wearing face masks approached him. One of them was holding a firearm. He recognised the voice of Lipinski, a customer he had a disagreement with over the phone earlier that day regarding payments. As he attempted to run away, the victim was struck with a baton before finding shelter behind a parked car. Lipinski then fired shots in the garage, causing damage to a number of vehicles. The 2 suspects then walked off down Hertford Road, smashing the window of another vehicle in the garage with a baton as they left. A police investigation was launched. Approximately a month before the attack, Lipinski brought two Jaguar vehicles to the garage and made an arrangement to get the silver Jaguar fixed with parts from the blue Jaguar. The price of £750 was agreed, but after the work was finished, Lipinski collected the silver car and only paid £200. He also failed to collect the blue car. The victim contacted Lipinski and asked for the remaining funds to be paid. After a delay, this was done. However, on the day of the incident, at approximately 1 p.m, Lipinski called the garage demanding the blue Jaguar be fixed free of charge. When the victim explained this could not be done, Lipinski came to the garage armed and with an accomplice. 3 days after the attack on the mechanic, armed officers arrested Lipinski on suspicion of attempted murder and possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life. No firearms were seized, but the victim's account and phone inquiries linked Lipinski to the scene. On June the 17th, Lipinski was charged with possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life. Detective Sergeant Mark Attridge, who led the investigation, said, "This violent incident targeted an innocent man who was simply doing his job."
Teen suffers serious injuries in bus station stabbing. A 17-year-old was stabbed repeatedly at a bus station on Saturday evening. Police cordoned off Edmonton bus station after being called at 7 p.m. following reports of a fight. The stabbing victim was initially taken to hospital in a critical condition. The Metropolitan Police say that his condition is not life-threatening, but his injuries may be life-changing. There have been no arrests, and inquiries continue. Enfield Council leader Nezil Kaliskan has tweeted, "I'm hearing reports of another stabbing in Edmonton this evening. It is too often. My thoughts are with the victims, the grief and pain families will inevitably face, and my community in Enfield, who are anxious and frightened."
Homes could be built on green belt land. Building on scrubby areas of Enfield's green belt could be a way of tackling the housing crisis without overburdening existing neighbourhoods, it has been claimed. Enfield Council's new local plan, a framework designed to guide planning decisions, could see small areas of green belt land opened up for development in a bid to ramp up house building. The Mayor of London says the council needs to build 1,900 homes a year during the next decade, almost 4 times the current rate of development, while the council's own assessment shows an annual target of 2,400 homes needed to meet demand. Conservative leader, Councillor Joanne Laban, has previously criticised the proposal to build on the green belt, claiming the council should focus on brownfield land in the east of the borough. Councillor Laban believes the provision of homes should be linked to a future Crossrail 2 project, which she claims the council previously committed to doing. But at a meeting of the Enfield Racial Equality Council last Wednesday, members pointed out that building in areas that are already densely populated would put more strain on transport and other public services. May Hope, the council's local plan lead, said the government's national planning policy framework gave the council an opportunity to review the Green Belt. Enfield Racial Equality Council co-chairman Bevan Betton said there is a lot of Green Belt we should build on. We have got to be pragmatic and realistic. We have got two choices. Either use some of the Green Belt scrubland, or we have to go up again and build high-rise buildings better than we did in the 1960s and 70s. Mrs. Hope agreed the council could face a choice between building on some scrubby bits of land defined as previously developed in the Green Belt, or build high-rise homes in areas that are already constrained. But Councillor Claire Da Silva, Conservative member for Bush Hill Park, said she absolutely disagreed with the Green Belt proposals. She added that the council needed to focus on building places
over
with
workman's
shops
70-day
and public
absence.
spaces.
A pensioner put up signs wishing scaffolding on her block of flats a happy birthday. Anne Ratty, who lives in Village Road, says contractors from building firm Mullally have been renovating her Enfield Council housing block for more than 6 months, even though it does not require major work. She said during that time there had been no workmen on the site for around 70 days in total, not including the Christmas holidays. Mrs. Ratty said work was repeatedly delayed and questioned whether some of the improvements, which are costing leaseholders around £14,700 each, were even necessary. She said, "There's nothing major here. This job is pretty straightforward, but for 70-odd working days, no one has been here. When they did the roof, it took 3 to 4 days, and we thought, good. A few times we had letters saying they were going to refurbish the back where the washing lines are. It was put off 2 or 3 times. The council lets companies do lots of estates at the same time, but it doesn't seem as if a lot is being done. It's ridiculous." Mrs. Ratty said she put signs up outside her block saying, "Spot the workman," and "Happy birthday to the scaffolding," and other residents agreed with the sentiments. Mrs. Ratty added that some of the proposed jobs, including replacing balcony screens and putting up plastic drain pipes instead of metal ones, seemed unnecessary. She said the balcony screens were now being repainted instead of replaced after she disputed it and told Mullally all they needed to do was check the screws and fittings. Mrs. Ratty said the builders had now been told to finish the outstanding renovation work by the end of January. Enfield Council stated that the works being carried out on the houses had been agreed with residents and no unnecessary renovations were taking place. A council spokesperson said it was common practice for several blocks to be included within one contract, ensuring better value for money. They added, "The majority of the works are now complete on this particular block. However, the project's completion has been pushed back by 4 weeks, largely due to supply chain difficulties, issues with water pressure for jet washing, and poor weather. The council always consults its residents on works for their properties, and in this particular case, as the residents are leaseholders, the council has a duty to discuss potential works and likely costs. The residents have been informed of the length of the contract and when particular works are likely to be undertaken." Mullally was also approached for comment.
Serious youth violence offences fall as more police patrol borough. Serious youth violence fell in Enfield last month after extra police numbers were deployed to tackle an emergency situation. The number of serious youth violence offences dropped by 23 in December, following a spike in October and November that left the borough with the highest rate in London. Metropolitan Police figures show that there were 397 serious youth violence offences in Enfield in the year to November 2018, an 8.8% rise on the previous year. Superintendent Nigel Brooks told the council's crime scrutiny panel on Thursday that officers had been redeployed from the Metropolitan Police Territorial Support Group to deal with an emergency situation in December. Meanwhile, police officers based in other parts of the borough were also told to target crime hotspots. Andrea Clemens, the council's head of community safety, said December's fall in serious youth violence may well be linked to a higher number of police officers patrolling the borough. including officers from TSG and other resources. The increased police presence also coincided with a reduction in other crimes, including gang-related offences, hate crime, and antisocial behaviour. Superintendent Brooks said the emergency response was continuing in January and would include measures such as stop and search, which he insisted was being used in an appropriate way. Enfield Council funds youth outreach work and other activities, including sport, in a bid to tackle youth crime. It has also sought to engage with members of the public by holding several meetings in areas that have been badly affected by crime. But, like other London boroughs, Enfield has been hit by cuts to police spending that have left officer numbers per head across the capital at a 20-year low, according to City Hall. At Thursday's meeting, Andrea Clemens confirmed the council is looking to work with boroughs that have seen a reduction in youth violence, such as Croydon, to see if it can replicate their successes. She added, "We put a lot of funding into tackling youth violence. While other areas have been rejigged, this is not an area that has been reduced." Members of the public called on the council to ensure people were made aware of funding opportunities available for community groups looking to engage with youngsters. Edmonton resident Chichi Manairu pointed out that many hard-to-reach communities would be unaware of funding opportunities because they would not look at the council's website. Enfield Town resident Natalie Sherman also called for more engagement with communities, saying, "We know people come along when something has gone really wrong. We want to see regular interactions."
Plans for £40 million brewery approved. Beavertown Brewery has been given permission to build a £40 million facility at Ponders End Industrial Estate, reports Simon Allen, local democracy reporter. Development will include a brewery, office and visitor centre, but will involve knocking down part of the historic Edison factory, which produced light bulbs for the Edison and Swan Electric Light Company and later became home to the UK's first radio valve and television cathode ray tube factories. Enfield's Conservation Advisory Group, or CAG, had raised concerns that the plans involved retaining only a small part of the historic factory, but following negotiations with planning officers, Beavertown agreed to include more of the original building. Around 90 people will be employed at the site, but it is large enough to accommodate 200 workers if the business expands. Beavertown is well known for its colourful cans and products, such as Gamma Ray, American Pale Ale, and 8-Ball. The brewery started life in Hackney, before moving to Tottenham Hale. Its expansion into Enfield is being funded by beer company Heineken. The proposals were unanimously approved by Enfield Council's Planning Committee. Councillor Matab Uddin said it would bring much-needed investment
brings
to the
burial
area
services
and
back
help
in-house.
attract more businesses.
Enfield Council is bringing cemeteries management back under its control. It has taken over the management of the burial service, which operates at 5 cemeteries in the borough, to make it more unified and cost-effective. It will provide burial services in Enfield cemeteries and the maintenance of the spaces, including burial preparation, site improvement works and general upkeep. Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Environment, Councillor Guni Dogan, said, "Bringing the cemeteries service back in-house will enable us to provide a high-quality, adaptable and value-for-money service that meets the needs of residents. We know that arranging a funeral can be a sensitive and distressing time for people, and we are determined to make it as straightforward as possible for grieving families. It will sit within the Parks Department and has received a fleet of new vehicles and specialised machinery to maintain the cemeteries."
Enfield Lock, dangerous crossing. Drivers have been warned not to ignore traffic lights at level crossings after it was revealed there had been 78 near misses at the Ordnance Road crossing near Enfield Lock Station in 1 year. Distracted drivers were blamed for the number of incidents at level crossings, where they risk being hit by trains if they ignore warning lights. Richard Tew, head of safety at Network Rail, said, "There is a lack of knowledge around how dangerous railway crossings can be. We are seeing drivers take risks at level crossings every day, putting themselves and others in danger. Nothing is worth risking your life.
Police appeal over 98-year-old man's death. Police are continuing to appeal for information about a violent robbery after the elderly victim of the attack died in hospital. Peter Goldstone, 98, died on the 30th of November from injuries sustained in an attack in his own home. Police were called at 10 a.m. on Tuesday the 6th of November to Peter's address in Evesham Road, Bowes, where he was found suffering a head injury and extensive bruising to his body. A number of Peter's possessions had been taken, including a 26-inch Panasonic television, model TX L26X10B. A £10,000 reward is on offer from charity Crime Stoppers for anyone who provides information that leads to the conviction of those responsible for the attack. Detective Inspector Paul Ridley said, "I particularly want to hear from people that may have been offered the Panasonic television that was stolen, or who saw either people or vehicles in the vicinity of Evesham Road that may have appeared out of place. Call police on 101 and quote the crime reference number 2140/6th November. Alternatively, call Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555.
Filmmaker is seeking help for a documentary about new cycling lanes installed along green lanes. Hardy Saleh's film Sharing the A105 will look at how the cycle lanes, constructed as part of the council's Mini Holland programme, have impacted the local community. It will later be submitted to the Here Film Festival, run by Torquay's Community Cinema. He said, "There has been heated debate about the benefits and drawbacks of the scheme. This film will draw on the perspectives of people in the community and invite them to ask each other burning questions so that a common understanding can be reached. If you wish to help with this, you should visit sharingthea105.co.uk.
Edmonton. Grave concerns prompt inspection. A government inspector is probing Tottenham Park Cemetery. The Minister of Justice hired Peter Mitchell to address concerns raised about the condition, practices and management of the privately owned and operated cemetery, which recently went into administration. Local people had complained about the way it was being managed. Enfield Council welcomed the news. Leader Nezil Kalaskan said, "Very serious concerns have been raised which have caused considerable distress and upset to families who had their loved ones buried in Tottenham Park Cemetery. It is right and proper that the Minister of Justice has appointed an inspector so these can be addressed."
And from the Enfield Dispatch paper, out on the town, in our regular councillor's column, Michael Rye talks up Town Ward. He says, "I have represented what is now Town Ward since 1994, and it is a real pleasure to serve the area where I have lived almost all my life. I try to provide a response to constituent inquiries within 24 hours. Issues raised by constituents range from a missed refuse collection to a council housing refurbishment. Both prior to May 2014 and subsequently, a major issue for many residents has been the number of empty shops in Enfield town. The reasons for this are complex, including unrealistic rents, the cost of business rates, uncertainty over the Cycle Enfield programme, and of course the huge change in the way we shop. I have lobbied the council for many months, requesting enforcement action against empty shops and for information to be sent to landlords about how to change from retail to restaurant or cafe where appropriate. I managed to get the council to install new lights on Library Green and have been promised that the cafe and the library will be open again before Easter. I also congratulate local traders for their appeal for funds for Christmas lights, which the council agreed to match fund. The council has set up an empty shops working party, which I serve on, and enforcement action has now been taken. I am optimistic we can improve Enfield town and make it a more vibrant place to shop and eat, both during the day and in the evening. If you are concerned about our town centre, please use it. In Town Ward we have many groups of passionate volunteers. I congratulate all the volunteers we work with, including friends groups, residents associations, Neighbourhood Watch and local police team. I also serve on the Old Enfield Charitable Trust, which owns Market Square and makes grants totalling many thousands of pounds to local people in need. As a member of the Conservative opposition group, it is important to scrutinise the actions of the Labour administration and hold them to account. We have, for example, been particularly critical of the slow progress, 8.5 years, on the small housing sites in Parsonage Lane and Forty Hill. It is especially important when resources are tight that the Council makes good decisions. Since May 2018, we have held 2 ward forums, and we also hold weekly surgeries and occasional coffee mornings. I am proud to represent Town Ward and believe Enfield is a great place to
Enfield
live,
Town
work
Centre.
and play.
Enfield Council is hoping to transform Enfield Town with the help of a grant of up to £10 million. The Council last month submitted an ambitious bid for funding to Transport for London's Livable Neighbourhoods programme, which, if successful, would go towards the large-scale regeneration of the area. A master plan for the work is now being drawn up, with residents and traders being urged to contribute ideas over the next few months. Organisations such as Enfield Disability Action will also be invited to contribute to the plans. While the regeneration could include new cycling infrastructure, it is said to be separate from the ongoing £30 million Mini Holland programme that has seen more than 6 miles of cycle lanes constructed across the borough. Council leader Nezil Kaliskan said, "This demonstrates our ongoing commitment to transform Enfield for the benefit of everyone. By working together in a constructive way, we have an opportunity to create a vibrant major town centre while respecting the town's unique character. Any vision for the town should be shared with the local residents, the market and the traders." Last September, the council was criticised by opposition Conservative councillors for policies they claimed had contributed to a rise in the number of empty shops in Enfield Town. But their call to lower parking charges and introduce rate discounts for new retailers was rejected. Now the ruling Labour administration claims its visionary proposal would encourage walking, cycling and the wider use of public transport, encouraging more people to visit local shops and cafes. An announcement on whether the council's funding bid is successful is due in March.
Campaigning to stop Brexit. 2.5 years after the EU referendum, in which Enfield voted Remain, but the UK voted Leave, local campaigners issue a final plea to cancel Brexit. For the past 2 years, a group of ordinary local people have taken to the streets to talk to people in Enfield face to face about the European Union. That group is Enfield for Europe, and we welcome input and representatives of all political parties and all the pro-EU campaigns. We started in summer 2016 when a handful of EU referendum campaigners felt there was something very wrong with the official Remain campaigns. Positive information about jobs, rights and protections from the EU, about where EU money was benefiting Enfield, and what Enfield would lose if we left wasn't being publicised. Leaving was not going to be good for local regeneration projects or for our EU citizen friends and neighbours. Enfield for Europe was formed to help mend the national view of the EU and to make the conversation about not leaving less toxic. By joining together all the different campaigns that sprang up in 2016 and 17, Enfield for Europe grew as a local activist group. A big banner attracted Enfield people on marches and meetings. A rally outside Southgate Underground Station hit the local headlines. Our website was created by a local school student, and various social media feeds grew popular. After the referendum, the group rejected any message that leaving was inevitable and that we should settle for a questionable Westminster deal. It became a voice for people who were telling us about how bad Brexit would be for local industry. We joined together both the People's Vote and Stop Brexit campaigns, stickered the Labour Live Festival at Haringey and added Enfield's Red Beast and Stars badge to the Stand of Defiance European Movement banner at the Houses of Parliament. We are constantly having to bust myths. Many of the problems based on the EU are not the fault of the European Parliament, where we can use our voting power to vote for improvements to our lives. We have all found out that Brexit will deplete the funds available for the NHS and will go on costing us for years to come. Enfield for Europe has met with local MPs to ask them to speak out against the racism that Brexit has created in our communities. And we protested about this issue at Enfield Council last May. We want to spread positive messages about the ability of the EU to fix the big crises facing the world, from air pollution to migration. Enfield for Europe keeps coming back to the reality that simply stopping Brexit altogether is the best deal available to Enfield and to the UK, regardless of any concessions from the EU, a change in Prime Minister, or even a change in government. The best solution for Enfield is to cancel Brexit and remain in the EU. In our neighbourhood.
Police appeal after 2 injured in McDonald's stabbing. 2 men have been stabbed during a fight in McDonald's. Officers were called at 11:46 p.m. on Saturday, 4th Street in Edmonton, after a group of men began to fight in the fast food restaurant. London Ambulance Service also attended, and 2 men, aged 20 and 18, were found suffering knife-inflicted injuries. The older man was taken to hospital for treatment to a slash injury to his leg. His condition is not life-threatening. The 18-year-old remains in hospital for treatment to stab injuries to the back. His condition is serious but stable. Officers from the North Area Command Unit are currently investigating and are working to establish the motive. Detective Sergeant Chris Anderson, who leads the investigation, said, "I am appealing for anyone who was in McDonald's or the area around the restaurant in 4th Street between 11:30 p.m. and midnight to contact police if you have information that could assist this investigation. It appears that at least 3 males armed with knives rushed into the restaurant and attacked the 2 victims. We believe they may have been in the vicinity of the restaurant for around 15 minutes prior to the attack. If you saw this group or witnessed or filmed the attack or its aftermath, please contact police immediately. Anyone with information is asked to contact police via 101 and quote CAD 8218/12Jan. You can also tweet at METCC. Alternatively, contact Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111.
Make a
There have
difference
been
in
no
2019.
arrests and inquiries
Healthwatch
continued.
Enfield is looking for new volunteers. Have you been pondering life over the holiday period? Maybe thinking how you can give something back to your community? Is your CV lacking in relevant experience? Or do you need to brush up on some skills? Perhaps you simply like helping people and want to do something really worthwhile. If your answer is yes to any of our questions, then Healthwatch Enfield is here to help. At Healthwatch Enfield, it is our job to make the view of residents in Enfield known when it comes to local health and social care services. That's everything from general practitioners, dentists, hospitals and pharmacies to publicly funded care homes for elderly, vulnerable or disabled people. We rely on great people from the community to get involved and dedicate some of their spare time for free to help support the service we offer. In return, we provide training opportunities, a chance to learn new skills, brush up on old ones, and be part of a varied and vibrant team of really lovely people. We are always looking for new volunteers from all ages and abilities. Among our volunteers are students from college taking placements with us, professionals who want to gain experience and skills such as marketing or graphic design, retired folk who have time, patience and wisdom, people with personal experience of disabilities who represent a different view on projects, as well as others who just simply love to get out and about in the community, take surveys about services, or visit care homes to talk to residents and families about their experiences. We write reports based on all this feedback, which we submit to various boards to help bring about changes, improvements, or influence the design of future services. We also help to promote services that are available in the community and help Enfield residents navigate their way around services, such as complaints procedures. Our targeted projects last year included our Open to All initiative we ran in partnership with North Middlesex University Hospital. This project has seen the implementation of training and coaching programs for reception staff to help improve the experience of disabled patients visiting clinics. Step by step, we are making a difference. So why not join us and help us make that difference even bigger and better in 2019? For more information about Healthwatch Enfield and to get in touch, call 020-8373-6283 or email info@healthwatchenfield.co.uk or tweet @healthwatchenf or visit healthwatchenfield.co.uk.
Community ties. Helen Osman, founder of community website n21online.com, on why we should make the most of what our local patch has to offer. It has been said that in the modern world, most of us live in networks, connected only remotely to the people we have shared interests with, whether at work, rest or play. Does that mean that we no longer feel the need to belong to the local area in which we actually reside? Maybe you see your home as your sanctuary, where you can shut the world out. So it is irrelevant what is going on in the streets and green spaces near where you live. When you are heading off to work or going out at weekends, are you inclined to stick in earbuds and walk around in your own little bubble, oblivious to your surroundings? Guilty? London is often described as a city made up of hundreds of small villages. For centuries, the village green or town marketplace was the centre of the local community, somewhere for people to meet, somewhere for people to trade. The pub and the church were at the heart of most people's lives. Yet, both of these institutions have been declining for decades. Their buildings' facades repurposed for new uses. Does that mean our local communities are also in decline? No, far from it. Your local area may no longer feel like a village, but there is certainly masses going on, although you might have to work harder catch up with local gossip. Our church halls, pubs and cafes are important venues for classes, workshops, live music and drama, community and campaign groups, which are all contributing to your local community and local economy. Look again at your local shops. They may not be funky coffee shops, but they are still vital to a fully functioning community, people of all ages. Strapping the baby in the buggy and popping down to the shops or to a sing-along class can be a welcome break from the social isolation of new parenthood. Popping out to the local shops may be the only social contact some elderly people have all day. Resolution for 2019. Use them or lose them. Think how sterile the area would be if they weren't there. The new year is the perfect time to take a fresh look at what your local patch has to offer and, dare I say it, what you could offer your community. Start using online forums and the scores of flyers on community notice boards around your local area. There is plenty of scientific evidence that being part of a real social network is good for our mental and physical well-being. We are living in a more uncertain world, which is being reshaped by politics, global economic and technological trends, over which we have no control. Perhaps putting down roots in your local patch isn't such a bad idea.
New directions. Joe Johnson from Love Your Doorstep recommends using local businesses to help fulfill New Year's resolutions. After months and months of work and migrating of content, the new Love Your Doorstep website has been born. Log on to loveyourdoorstep.co.uk to explore all your local services, events, jobs and more. We hope you will enjoy the new layout and features. This time of year brings Love Your Doorstep a vast range of requests, spurred on by New Year's resolutions. Fortunately, we have plenty of businesses that can help with these, whether it's keeping fit, hobbies, decluttering, or giving up smoking. Our local business directory has it all. We have a range of fitness classes, dance classes, and personal trainers to choose from, covering everything from typical training sessions to Zumba, hula dancing, and trampoline fitness. For others, a New Year goal might be a bit of pampering or a new hairdo. Luckily, we have some great hairdressers that will be happy to help. If you're looking to plan a nice holiday for later in the year, our travel agents have some great ideas for you. Or you might just want to book tickets to one of the many amazing shows coming up at one of our local theatres. High up on the list of plans for the new year is often home improvements. Sometimes it's a long list of little bits and bobs that we don't get around to sorting and need to hand over to someone else. We have whole categories of painters and decorators, handy people, and builders who can take on these jobs for you. Another common theme is decluttering. Many of us use this period to have a thorough sort out of the home. In our directory, we even have professional decluttering people who will come and assist you with clearing out your belongings, which, if you are a hoarder like me, could be a very useful service to have. Items that no longer serve a purpose could be welcomed by one of our many local charities or services, which leads us on to another New Year goal: volunteering. There are so many wonderful places locally that can't operate without our community giving up a little bit of their spare time. Whatever your goals may be for the new year, please visit our online community forum on Facebook and continue to support our community.
Slowing Down
and
Cars
business.
from David Hughes of Conway Road, Palmer's Green. On your opinion page, Stop Wasting Our Money, January the 9th, Wendy Berry railed against Enfield Council for placing large planters across the entrance carriageway to residential streets leading off Fox Lane, Cornhill and Alderman's Hill in Palmer's Green. These planters are being installed to ensure that traffic has to enter residential streets slowly, respecting the lives of residents. Some vehicles will have to wait briefly or queue whilst traffic exiting the residential street moves on. Naturally, this irks drivers avoiding traffic on nearby main roads, yet they have brought it upon themselves by dominating with speed streets meant for residents, especially children who have had a poor deal from the car age. As for the charge that planters waste money, I think as a resident of a street off Fox Lane that the benefits are overwhelmingly positive. But I suspect that much of the necessary money will have come from the government via London's mayor, not from ratepayers. As part of this project, there will be sinusoidal speed humps on Fox Lane and a recommended 20-mile-per-hour speed limit throughout. In fact, Wendy B made the case for the presence of the planters by abandoning Green Lanes, A105, for Selborne Road. It may be convenient for her, but through traffic on purely residential roads is unpleasant for residents and restricting for children. Wendy B doesn't say where she is driving to from Enfield, but from there to Palmer's Green is easy by train, bus and bike for most people, of course not for her and her disabled son. I'm 81. I cycle the opposite journey using the cycle lanes she calls disastrous. Not that they are essential for me, but they are for the key task of developing a young generation of cyclists. We can't go on packing the streets with cars and their pollution.
A letter from Wendy Berry. Stop littering in parks. Enfield is fortunate to have so many beautiful parks which are valued so much by residents. I live near to Arnos Park and enjoy an early morning walk there almost every day of the week. On Sundays I extend my route and walk round Broomfield Park. Sunday the 2nd of September was a glorious morning and my spirits soared as I approached Arnos Park. Almost immediately I was shocked to see a rough sleeper spread across a park bench with a discarded mattress by his side. Still, there were more positive sights to enjoy, so I made my way to Broomfield Park. Broomfield is a glorious park, and stall holders were just starting to prepare for the Broomfield Festival, being held later that day. There were lots of friendly good mornings with the other walkers, many with their dogs. Nevertheless, it was impossible to ignore the frequent piles of rubbish, cans, bottles, fast food containers, etc., spoiling the lovely surroundings. I felt quite depressed that people seemed unable to put their rubbish in the plentiful bins or even just take it home. To thoughtlessly throw it on the ground seemed totally alien to me. I was feeling rather sad as I approached the lake by the bandstand when I stopped in my tracks. Standing just 30 feet away from me in the middle of the footpath was a splendid heron. I stopped and admired this spectacular bird and was joined by a friendly park keeper. Then it majestically flew off and perched in a nearby tree overlooking the lake. So my walk ended on a joyous note, and I feel so grateful for being able to enjoy Enfield's wonderful parks. My walks are a regular part of my life, which can lift my spirits and really set me up for the day. I am the parent-carer of a profoundly learning disabled autistic adult son, and life can be very difficult at times. But please, can I send a message to the minority of park users who spoil our parks by leaving their litter behind them? Please think about what you're doing and just put your rubbish in the bins or take it away with you. Then we can all continue to enjoy our beautiful parks.
And now a letter from James Palmer of Lindsay Road, Hornsey, who says, "Thanks for Cycle Lane. I am a retired resident of Haringey, and I enjoy both cycling and birdwatching. One of my favourite days out is to cycle around the Lee Valley Park, starting at Cheshunt Station. I used to go there and back using the overground from White Hart Lane station. Now I use the cycle lane that runs from Enfield Town to Palmer's Green for my return journey. This cycle lane is brilliant. Unlike many cycle lanes in London, it doesn't suddenly stop, and it offers continuous separation from the rest of the traffic. It has allowed me to increase the amount of cycling that I do, and I hope as a result it helps me to become fitter and healthier than would otherwise be the case. I would like to praise Enfield
Chicken
Council
Shed
for
say,
creating this.
Join
excellent
us for the Saturday shift, a brilliant afternoon session giving a flavour of Chicken Shed's children's theatre through play, performance techniques and interactive workshop games, all run using Chicken Shed's unique inclusive methodology. For all children aged between 5 and 12 years. This is on Saturday the 26th of January from 1 till 2:30 p.m. for 5 to 8-year-olds and from 3 till 4:30 p.m. for 9 to 12-year-olds. And Chicken Shed Theatre is at 290 Chaseside, Cockfosters, N14 4PE. Cost would be £8 for entry, but there are subsidies available. If you want more information, you need to call 020 8292 9222 or visit chickenshed.org.uk.
The ultimate snowdrop sale, Saturday the 26th of January, 10:30 a.m. till 12 p.m. Middleton House Gardens, Bulls Cross, Enfield, EN2 9HG. A highlight of every garden enthusiast year is fast approaching. The annual snowdrop sale in the award-winning Middleton House Gardens. Hundreds of snowdrop enthusiasts and keen gardeners will gather to get their hands on a rare or unusual new bulb for their garden or collection. Free entry? Call 030 000 30610 or visit visitleevalley.org.uk/Middleton.
Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group invites you to its governing body meeting to be held in public on Wednesday the 23rd of January 2019, 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. to be held at Holbrook House, Cockfosters Road, Barnet, EN40BR. Copies of the agenda and meeting papers will be available on our website at www.enfieldccg.nhs.uk from the 16th of January. Questions about agenda items must be submitted by 12 noon on the 21st of January to enfcc.secretariat@nhs.net and will be taken at the meeting. For further information, please call 020 3688 2867 or email Lauren, that's LAUREN, Crawford, CRAWFORD, the figure 2
Gary
at
Humphreys reviews 2 classical
NHS.net.
concerts. Nothing better illustrates the variety and quality of classical music in Enfield than 2 recent concerts in Southgate and Palmer's Green. The excellent choir of Christchurch Southgate celebrated its patronal festival in November with a foretaste of its forthcoming visit to Venice next February. A programme comprising music by Gabrielli, Lotti and Monteverdi, all associated with the Basilica di San Marco, Vivaldi and their English contemporaries William Byrd and Henry Purcell. They were partnered by the Bach Sinfonia, led by professional violinist Liz Partridge, who was joined in a virtuosic concerto for violin and cello by Vivaldi with the cellist Sean Turpin, who works for Enfield Music Services and is a member of the Hammig String Quartet. Christchurch Southgate may not quite match Venice's San Marco for spaciousness and acoustics, but it proved to be a worthy venue for this programme. A capacity audience enjoyed the scintillating sound of solos and duets, contrasting with the full choir in massed and antiphonal music from Italy, and music of an equally grand but perhaps more restrained variety from the English composers. The United Reformed Church in Palmer's Green was the venue in December for the first of this season's 3 concerts by the North London Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Robert Max. The main work was Walton's First Symphony, preceded by Saint-Saëns' 5th Piano Concerto. The soloist was Jack Campbell, an 18-year-old who 2 years ago won the keyboard category of the BBC Young Musician competition. His manner is calm, but he delivers the goods. And the audience gave him a rapturous reception, realising that they were perhaps witnessing the beginnings of an illustrious international career. The orchestra is an accomplished and experienced ensemble, perfectly capable of taking in its stride one of the great British symphonies of the 20th century. It played superbly. But unfortunately, the church, a good space for music, was too small for the volume of sound generated, and the brass and woodwind often overpowered the strings, which provide the continuity in this work. Therefore, the highlighting by the wind sections tended to take priority and emerge as a series of disjointed outbursts, not the fault of the players. One can perhaps understand why the orchestra's other venue, St James in Muswell Hill, is, sadly for us, now used for 2 out of the 3 concerts performed by North London Symphony Orchestra each year. These concerts attract capacity audiences. Palmer's Green would be the poorer without them.
Step back in time. It's a new exhibition at Forty Hall. An exhibition portraying the experiences of children at Forty Hall is set to give a fascinating glimpse into the hall's past. Throughout the centuries, there have been children at Forty Hall. Wealthy children have lived here, and poorer children have worked here. In more recent years, children have come to enjoy events and activities, explore the house, and play in the park. Come and see what a child's encounter and understanding of Forty Hall Estate may have been in bygone eras. Look out for the recently restored 18th and 19th century paintings of children connected to the Forty Hall families. Learn about the wealthy children who lived in or visited the hall and the poorer children who made their living here. Forty Hall, Forty Hill, Enfield, EN2 9AH. The exhibition opens on Saturday, January the 19th to Sunday, March the 31st. Details fortyhallestate.co.uk.
Patrick Samuel, an artist from Palmer's Green, is launching a new series of workshops to help people's mental health. And he writes, "I'm an artist, composer and public speaker. I have also autism and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. Life 2 years ago was very different. I wasn't coping that well. I didn't have coping mechanisms or calming strategies in place, and as a result I was having frequent meltdowns because of sensory overload and being overwhelmed by situations at work and at home that I couldn't manage. I was so traumatized by all of this that I eventually stopped speaking. It was then that my friend and carer got me to try drawing as a way to express myself. He said, 'If you can't speak, then draw. Let the pencil do the talking.' So I drew. And the next day, I drew again. Gradually, I wanted to talk about what I drew, about what was happening to me and the problems I had coping. This led me to wanting to share it with others, and I soon saw how much it was helping on a wider scope. In the 2 years that followed, I discovered my love for colour, as I moved on from drawing to painting with oil pastels, soft pastels, acrylics, and oil paint. I found colour as a way to express myself more freely than I had ever done before. It was like learning a new language. It was a completely different way to communicate and connect with others, something I had always struggled with. After giving lots of talks at schools, community centres, at autism shows and conferences, and 6 solo exhibitions, I've been given the wonderful opportunity to run 3 workshops where I can share my love of colour based on the therapeutic approach I've been shown. These will be held at the Dugdale Centre in Enfield and will focus on Broomfield Park, the subject of my most recent exhibition, using oil pastels with various mixing and blending mediums. I'll be supported by my carer and staff at the Dugdale and Museum of Enfield to deliver these workshops, and I'm looking forward to seeing who'll come along and share this experience with me. Let's learn to communicate with colour. Colour Therapy with Patrick Samuel takes place at Dugdale Centre on Saturday the 26th of January, the 23rd of February and the 30th of March from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. The cost is £10 per session. All materials are provided. For more information, please visit Patrick Samuel News for you. My one is headed Brimsdown Disappointment follows Bovingdon Cup Delight for Borough. It was a mixed few days for Enfield Borough as the joy of reaching their first ever cup semi-final with a 2-0 victory over Bovingdon last Wednesday was followed by an out-of-character 4-2 league loss to Brimsdown Rovers at the weekend. The Panthers eventually managed to break down a stubborn Bovingdon defence in their Spartan South Midlands League Challenge trophy tie, with second-half goals from Tage Kennedy and Thomas Opoku. Borough almost gained the lead after just 30 seconds when Kennedy intercepted a poor pass across the back, but his snapshot from the edge of the area went wide. Bovington's first chance of the game came after 20 minutes, when Stephen Dodd latched onto Frank Chandler's underhit back pass, but it was saved by the feet of the goalkeeper. After the break, substitute Mohab Madkur picked the ball up on the right and advanced to the halfway line before sliding a pass in for Kennedy to slot home. The game opened up in the latter stages, with the visitors going in search of an equaliser, but their risk didn't pay off, as Borough made the game safe in fortunate circumstances. Jemiah Plenty Lawrence's through ball went through to the Bovington keeper, but he slipped trying to clear, leaving Opoku to walk it into an unguarded net and send Borough to the semi-final. There was to be no such fortune for Sean Rees's side on Saturday, though, as the Panthers were downed by Brimsdown. The afternoon got off to a positive start for Enfield when they took the lead inside 5 minutes through Richard Ennin. The game was turned on its head within 10 minutes following 2 defensive lapses. There was no further score in the first half, but it didn't take long for Brimsdown to add to their tally after the break, only for Kennedy to reduce the deficit to 3-2. However, as Borough threw men forward in search of an equaliser, they were caught out, and another goal for the hosts saw it finish 4-2 in their favour.
And now for some rugby. Ignatians pay penalty price. Enfield Ignatians suffered their 5th consecutive defeat in London 2 North West as they let a 9-point lead slip to lose 28-21 at home to Hemel Hempstead. Hosts led 21-12 toward the end, but a capitulation in defence saw them concede 3 late penalties to remain rooted in 10th place in the league, despite gaining the consolation of a losing bonus point. Ignatians made the first scoring move in Saturday's game, getting behind the Hemel back line within the first minute. And returning winger Hadi Fayaz beat his opposite number to touch the ball down. They increased their lead to 8-0 when they forced a scrum penalty, resulting in a successful kick from Paul Duke. But Hemel fought back and scored 2 quick tries before Fayaz restored the lead with his second try. Duke then added a second penalty after Hemel were sanctioned with a yellow card for a deliberate knock-on to make the half-time score 16-12 in Enfield's favour. After the break, Cairo Sango looked to have made the game safe for Ignatians when he went over, but a poacher's try for Hemel rocked the Enfield defence, and under increasing pressure, they coughed up 3 penalties late on to go down to defeat. Ignatians are next in action on Saturday, January the 26th, when they go up against bottom side... Sorry about that. Ledgeworth Garden City.
Now for news about hockey. At the top of our game, Southgate Hockey Club is still leading the way, writes Chairman Neil Murphy. Southgate Hockey Club is one of the largest, most successful hockey clubs in the country, and the club's facilities in Trent Park are some of the finest to be found anywhere in Europe. Trent Park has been Southgate Hockey Club's home for almost 25 years, but its history goes back long before that. Founded in 1886, Southgate has been at the top of the hockey pyramid ever since. The club were European champions in 1976, 77 and 78. Numerous England and Great Britain players have worn the black and red of Southgate. Indeed, the finest hour of the Great Britain men's team, winning gold at the 1988 Seoul Olympics, was built on the backbone of people from Southgate Hockey Club, including coach, manager, captain and leading goalscorer. Today, this successful high-performance level of hockey continues, with both the men's and ladies' first teams competing in the National Hockey League and junior players representing county, regional and national age group teams. However, Southgate is also about much more than top-level hockey. Every weekend throughout the season, we field 5 ladies' teams and 11 men's teams, all drawn from a pool of 300 senior and more than 200 junior players. These teams play at all levels of the London Hockey League, East League and Middlesex Ladies League, competitive and friendly sport to suit all abilities and ages. The club also fields veterans teams for over 40s, over 50s and over 60s, as well as mixed age teams. Southgate is and always has been an ambitious club looking to grow and broaden its offer of hockey to lots of people. Our ethos is to develop our own talent, and we have perhaps strongest junior coaching set up in the region. Led by head coach John Shaw, a former GP Olympian and Southgate stalwart, the juniors have more than 200 members training on Sunday mornings, and they successfully compete in regional and national leagues. Over the next 2 or 3 seasons, we're looking for new playing members to support additional teams in the ladies section and to build on the strength of new teams in the various men's divisions. Club Membership Secretary Michelle Joubert says, "We are always keen to hear from anybody thinking about playing. We welcome players coming back to hockey, moving to the area, university students, and people taking up the game for the first time. Everyone at Southgate is proud of the club's facilities. Few hockey clubs in the country have their own pitches and clubhouse, and most depend on local schools and council-owned pitches. At Southgate, hockey is played all year round, including the summer leagues, and training sessions take place most nights of the week during the season. After the match, there are few better places to relax and relive the game than on the balcony of Southgate's clubhouse, while watching the next fixture takes place below. Everyone gets a game at Southgate. For more information about Southgate Hockey Club, visit southgatehc.org.uk.
And finally, some more football. And the headings: Town defender returns to professional game with Doncaster. McLean nets fantastic opportunity. Young Enfield Town defender Ryan McLean has completed a move to League One side Doncaster Rovers after a successful trial period. McLean, aged 20, joins Rovers on a professional 18-month deal after impressing their boss, Grant McCann, during his trial, and he will go straight into the development squad of the Yorkshire club. Enfield manager Andy Leese told the club website, "This is a fantastic opportunity for Ryan to get back into professional football, which is what he has strived for. We picked Ryan up through the trials we held in the summer of last year. He has been excellent for us, has developed rapidly under our guidance, and I am sure he will go on to have a good career at a high level. On behalf of everyone at the club, I'd like to wish him all the very best in his future career." McLean, who joined Town after a spell at Leyton Orient, made his debut for the club in the 3-2 win at Folkestone Invicta on the opening day of the season and went on to make 15 competitive appearances. Now, though, he has a chance to return to professional football and is thankful to Doncaster for taking the chance on him. He told their website, "I'm very happy to be given the chance to play for a club like Doncaster. It's a great chance for me to prove myself. It was nice to play a few games for the development side and be back in a professional environment after spending some time in non-league. I've had a few chats with the manager, and he's explained how he wants me to develop and push towards the first team." Meanwhile, Enfield lost ground on the Bostik Premier Division playoff positions on Saturday as they went down to a 1-0 defeat to Merstham. Walter Figueira capitalised on a bad Joe Wright error after 13 minutes to notch the only goal of the game. That saw the Moatsiders go level on points with Town. It looked to be a routine catch for Wright, but he uncharacteristically spilt a cross into the path of Figueira, leaving him with the simple task of tapping into an empty net. Kezi Ibe, a new signing from Egham Town, looked the most likely to get Town back into the game, but he saw multiple efforts saved by Amadou Tangara in the Merstham goal. The second half saw Town doing most of the attacking, but they were up against a dogged home defence, who were constantly thwarting any attempts that the visitors had. They thought they had found an equaliser late in the second period, but Mark Weatherstone's header was controversially ruled out for offside in the build-up.
We have reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So, from the team of Kitty, John, Ali and Peter on the controls, it's
Goodbye.
cheerio. Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the memory stick into the packet in a closed position, and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget, you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking Newspaper on 0208 805 6578. Coming up next, the latest news and information for the Greater London area from InfoSound. The Enfield Talking Newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.